All right, good evening and welcome to today's session. For today's session, we are going to discuss about the future trends in graphic design. And I'm happy that you have managed to attend our session. And we are joined with two panelists, that is Mr. Eric Asiago and Mr. Eric Diege. As we are going to start off, the future designs, that is in terms of the trends and techniques which are used in graphic design, which we are doing it for Africa Digital Media Institute. In terms of the ADMI, for us, if you are hearing ADMI for the first time, or Africa Digital Media Institute is a creative media and technology training institute that we work to give Africans creatives training and mentorship platforms that they are needed to turn passion to profession. So we offer practical courses in film and TV production, video production, music production, and sound engineering, animation, and graphic design. We also have 2D animation and 3D animation. We also have video design or video game design and development, photography, and digital marketing. So as we're going to have our session, for us, we have some few house rules that we are going to follow. So always ensure that your mic is off for now, unless maybe you have inquiries, but remember to utilize the chat option which we are having. You can always use the chat option whereby you can comment, you can ask questions through that. You can use maybe to ask questions direct to the speaker. You'll need to raise up your hand, it's just below there. And as we are going to start off for our panelists, like I mentioned, Mr. Eric Asiago, who is a product designer. He has been in the industry for over 10 years. He leads Three Ways Limited Industry and is able to develop user-friendly experiences and interfaces. That is in terms of how to generate mobile and web spaces. So he has a background in fine arts and graphic design. He has been involved in banking platforms like health startups, e-commerce, and other spaces. So in terms of the training for him, he has worked with young designers in terms of the training and mentorship programs. So currently is a tutor at Acratics and previously has been a graphic design lecturer at Multimedia. That is panelist, that is the first one. Then the second one, Mr. Nikanon Diege is a corporate communication practitioner with over 6 years in industry in terms of the design, and also a corporate affairs assistant at Multimedia with skills in photography, news writing, editing, and graphic design. As he has worked as a reporter at some point for Standard newspaper and reporter for Antcap International and Diakonia, Sweden. So he has a master's in science, corporate communication, that is at MMU, and holds bachelor in communication and public relations from Moi University, and diploma in mass communication, that is print media option. So maybe let me just welcome our speaker, our panelist, to say a word before we proceed. Yes, Mr. Eric, you can say hi to us and maybe give us something interesting in graphic design.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for this opportunity to once again speak to peers within the industry. I know there's a lot that's happening within the industry. that is mostly positive going forward. And I know we'll have a fruitful discussion today. Thanks a lot.
Okay, welcome. Yes, Mr. Nicanor.
Let me say good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I'm also looking forward to a fruitful engagement. We are saying this is not a class per se, but a platform where we are going to just reflect, exchange ideas, and see different perspectives on how we look at some of the issues happening in the creative, that is graphic design industry. And perhaps my appeal will be, I would request us we reflect on the recent events that have been happening in this country, and that is the Gen Z issue, and how they have managed to push this thing they call social media political activism. So with that, I think it should give us some good kickoff and an eye opener on what actually the role of graphic design in all that process so far. So thank you.
All right, that's great to hear from our panelists today. Like I've mentioned, our webinar is more of the design your future. That is, we are looking at the trends and techniques in graphic design. Then to start off with, in terms of the general discussion, from any of the panelists, maybe they can give us an overview. What is the most significant trends that they have seen in graphic design today? Because for graphics has actually evolved with the time, from those days of from the old age times whereby we didn't have computers and we used to have graphic design, up to the right now when we are having the digital trends. And actually, it's not the end. We are going to have more and more, which is going to happen, like Mr. Nikanon has mentioned. But to start off with, let us get to hear from any of the panelists. Remember, it's an open discussion. From the panelists, we want to digest in terms of the graphic design, how it has evolved. So any of the speakers can pick up from there.
Thanks a lot, Fred. So maybe I can just kick off that discussion. And this maybe I might speak from a product design perspective. And for those maybe who don't understand what product is more around the space where technology is involved. For instance, developing of mobile applications, web applications, etc. And from where I sit, yes, there are new trends emerging. For instance, designers are now getting more assistance, for instance, from the softwares. And this can be attributed to something as simple as fonts. Back then, getting something as simple as a font was quite a hassle. Right now, you can easily access any font. You can even just search for an existing font that you've maybe seen in a packaging, in a piece of print material, etc. And this assistiveness has helped us to, one, improve on our turnarounds, make quick deliverables. But again, as much as it's helping us, it also has its own fair share of challenges that we might discuss as we go on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Eric. Nicanor?
Thank you so much, Eric. And just speaking from where Eric is and what Eric is mentioning, where we are getting now, what I can recall to, I can refer to our resources, graphic design resources. And I'll give an example. A few years ago, you'd actually struggle to get even templates, whether they are free or premium. Right now we have resources like, and I'll mention just maybe two, the Free Pick Plus platform. This is a platform that actually is giving you both free a graphic design a template or materials and premium. So depending on what a option you want to go with, you can pick premium or you can go with the free versions and still be able to do your job. I'm looking at Canva and how and what it is doing, both just not graphic design, but even on the video aspects. And you're looking at how it's revolutionizing or changing the graphic design landscape. And you wonder if you don't keep tabs, you may not catch up. And I like to refer to this, the era of, let's say, even in the ICT sector, when we used to do hard coding, it is slowly phasing away. You realize even now, those who are doing the web designs, they are looking for better templates and theirs is to customize. It's the same principle we are using when it comes to graphic design, where you get either a font or you get an already designed template and you customize it into the graphical code of or the corporate colors or codes or guidelines of your organization or to the taste of your client. So I see us, we have really made strides. And even nowadays, you look at it, it is even doable on phone. And these things are not like now I must have a laptop that is of these specs or what. You have a phone and you are able to log in, do a few items. Yes, they still say computer is good because of the specs and the speed and the processing of the graphics. But again, if you look at how we are moving, you just get amazed on how easier things have become and how the landscape is becoming more and more monetized. You realize even when these fonts are there, they are not for free though. You still have to buy them. You subscribe on these free pick platforms. So for us, I see a brighter future moving forward. But the most important thing is how then do you use or do we use these platforms to make sure that we maintain our critical and creative thinking when it comes to design so that we are not carried away by the already designed template. I think to me, that is the biggest challenge, just the way ChatGPT has come. How do we make sure we don't lose our critical and creative thinking when it comes to graphic design? Thank you.
Sure, that's a very helpful discussion. Actually, I've also seen with the font generation tools initially to add on the same what other speakers have said. We didn't have those fonts. We had to use application called Fontographer to be able to generate a font or a specific font that you would like to use. And now we are having the DAF font and other like 1,001 fonts whereby you can be able to download some fonts for free. But again, remember, people are able to monetize on the same, whereby they can just work on those particular fonts and they're able to upload somewhere whereby you can purchase them when you want to use them. The same case with the templates, people are able to customize for different applications, which can be paid for, especially when it comes to design works. Then moving on to other thing, maybe our panelists can tell us on how maybe as a graphic designer, you can stay updated with the latest tools and techniques with whatever is happening apparently. How do you stay updated? Since that actually a lot is happening in terms of the graphic design. Yes, any can go first.
Yes, thank you, Fred. Let me just take you to what we were introduced to when we first stepped into a lecture hall. Adobe Master Collection. And by then, I will tell you, we were using Adobe CS3 or something then. And right now, if you look at where we are in terms of the advancement of this creative suite, you realize even the producers of these desktop publishing softwares, they keep on updating the tools even within those applications. I'll give you for an example. You look at how we used to use Photoshop to remove a background. It used to be you have to go to the tool, tool panel, and you pick a pen tool or you pick a magic or eraser, and you start tracing the background and all that. Right now, you take a photo on Photoshop, and you are there on Windows and on properties, and it is instructing you what you want to do, remove a background, and you just click remove background, and the background is gone without you really using the other tools that were there that were time consuming. Because right now, for sure, if you were to step into, let's say, a production house or the graphic department of, let's say, Nation, and they want to remove the background of an image, for all the images they want to lay out in a newspaper, surely, I don't know how long that will take. But right now, if you look at what just Photoshop, don't even go to InDesign and other apps, just go to Photoshop and pick that aspect, that it's now easy to remove background by just going through the tools that are there, following the prompts or the commands that are there, and you click remove background, and it traces your background as if you are the person who was doing it manually or using your pen tool or selection tool. So for me, that is a starting point for me of what actually has changed in just the tools we are using to design. So for me, that's a starting point. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Eric, maybe you can give us your perspective.
Quite interestingly, I got onboarded into one of these platforms that our youngsters use, TikTok. And what has amazed me is the amount of content that is within that platform. And this I'll give specifically with regards to areas of interest. Every day, once I open my TikTok account, I always find new content with regards to this space. Either you'll find somebody introducing a new plugin that will make something easier, as my colleague was saying, like something as simple as a background remover. These are things that maybe might take you a longer time to maybe navigate through a software, but some people have already hacked that. And such information or such content is shared through these social platforms. Secondly, our traditional platforms, the Pinterests, the Behance, there's a lot of material again being shared there on a day-to-day basis. And remember, this is literally like a global space where experts from all these different continents are sharing their experiences and whatever they've learned on this platform. So I'd say personally, I tend to lean towards the social platforms nowadays because there's fresh information. The information there is easily accessible, easily applicable as well. Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's wonderful. And also to add on the same, like Mr. Nikanon had mentioned, in terms of whatever has been going on with the social media, we're able to learn a lot of things. And again, still basing on the same thing and echoing what he has mentioned in terms of Photoshop. Initially, I know for me, actually, I learned using Adobe CC or collection suite, that was CS2, which was among the oldest or the first ones we got at that time. And for you actually to be able to design anything, you needed now to understand layers very perfectly. Even for Adobe, the current one, which is not the current, we have in the CS6, which would also have some improvements in terms of removing background. But now with the latest one that we are having apparently like CC 2024, you don't need to worry about the layers. You just need to understand just a few concepts here and there, but it actually works well. For staying up to date, in terms of as a graphic designer, you need to ensure that you read a lot. You can peruse on tutorials. You can check on books. They're there, like for Adobe Creative Cloud. It has very nice tutorials for the same. And now moving forward to the other thing, as graphic designers, we have seen that a lot of things are happening. We have introduction of AI. So to pose a question like, what is the role of AI or artificial intelligence in graphic design and machine learning, and how it has actually evolved in terms of the graphic design? Then again, to be able to digest the topic further, we are looking at AI. We are having some people who are still reluctant to embrace AI. So what is your take, Mr. Nick Cannon, in terms of the embracing AI in our graphics?
Thank you, Mr. Fred. Like we say, when we appreciate some of the developments that are happening in this graphic design landscape, whether they are just plugins or whether they are just new desktop publishing softwares, we are just appreciating actually the evolution of technology. And one of them that is really fascinating people right now is the AI now. And you look at it, first, the advantage of it. I know it has been given a bad tag in some quarters, that people are using it negatively. But from the corporate point of view, from the corporate communication point of view, I'd say that this is something that is really gonna make us think out of the box or even without. Let me take you back a little bit. And this is regards to the data protection laws in the country. And where now there have been cases where you get this, let's say an example of universities and students getting agitated and taking the institutions to court for using their photos or without consent. And that is courtesy of the Data Protection Act. So if you look at this and you are wondering now, during a graduation, for example, and I need to take photos, and sometimes you want those moments that may not be actually, you may not have time to really give out a consent form. What do I do? And I need some of these moments. And you know, in that space or in that time, people are overzealous. People are in a celebratory mood. And you are just wondering, how can I get these people to give me go ahead to use their photos for this? But even if they give me, remember our laws again, and I'm making reference to it deliberately, it tells you, even if they give you, you must state the time frame. You know, somebody says, okay, I've allowed you to use my photo. Is it for today only? And if they don't sign somewhere, you are in trouble. And if you surpass or you use it, outside the prescribed or the agreed period or time frame, again you get you get these legal implications that comes with it. So what I'm saying is that the AI from a corporate point of view has made us think that even when we do not have that photo of a student in a library, of that student studying or having his laptop or something, you can still have something to communicate, generate an image and communicate using it. I was just making a reference of what has been happening again in the country, the Gen Z. If you've been, and I know you've been on these platforms, you see quite a number of AI generated image with the event specific messages, something that's supporting what they are doing. You know, so if it is reject finance bill or whoever must go, you find that those photos are generated in such a way that they are supporting the cause. So to me, I see it as a godsend and something that has come on the right time. The only issue is now we are dealing with the legal aspect part of it, of the deep fake and all that, where somebody get cloned and they are represented in a way that is not okay. But all that, those are there, we are saying. But from a corporate point of view, I think it is an idea that whose time has come. And it is an idea that we all need to embrace as graphic designers and see how we can supplement. I'm not saying we use it 100%. We supplement. We only supplement with the organic photos we have with them so that we can enrich our messaging to whichever cause we would want to achieve. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Mr. Eric, maybe you can give us your perspective in product design view.
Quite interesting. AI is a technology that I don't think will evade. It is here with us. Yes, it has its pros and cons. And in our space, I'll give you a classical example that I just experienced within this week. Someone had created this GUI and it had the capacity, once you take a photo, let's say, of a meal that you're having, it can break down the meal into individual calories, into individual nutrients that are composed in that food within a snapshot. If you have to look at that, that's a very critical advancement in, let's say, in health and fitness space. I know it might have its limitations with matters accuracy, but with everything, once it's trained enough, it can be extremely beneficial. Secondly, I know some of us here are photographers, designers, and there's always that fear of being replaced by AI. Because, for instance, you'll go into some of these platforms and any Tom, Dick, and Harry can quickly come and populate something. But there's also something quite interesting about AI as well. And that's why it's called generative, where you have to give it proper instructions. You have to train it properly for it to give you the correct results. And I think by virtue of being a designer, we are well trained, we are well versed, we are well experienced in how to query these platforms to give you the proper results. So I think this is a technology that's here to stay. As my colleague said, let's use it to supplement whatever we are doing. Let's not use it 100%, because at the end of it all, if you use 100%, chances are there might be overlapping of ideas or results. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Quite interesting in terms of the usage of AI. I know most of us as graphic designers are asking ourselves, then do we need to learn graphic design, since you can be able to generate advertisements and product designs or packages within a second by use of AI? So the only thing for us as graphic designers we should be able to avoid is the lazy use of of AI. Just the same case as how people are able to utilize ChatGPT. If maybe you want some text, you're just pasting your work there, then you are able to just generate text and copy and paste. So that's what we are discouraging as graphic designers. We don't want to have a copycat of whatever has happened. Then maybe again to add on is in terms of the common mistakes that people make. I think I've just highlighted, but now we can get to hear from our panelists what are some of the mistakes we can make, especially when we are dealing with AI. Because we have seen that it's not something that we're going to avoid, it's here to stay. Yes, we can hear your perspectives. Mr. Eric or Nick?
Yeah, so maybe I can just go first on this.
All right.
I think one of the most common mistakes that I've seen is being overexcited by AI, and this overexcitement makes you lose the fundamentals of design, which are the principles. And I think everybody has seen, you generate an image, it has 6 fingers, and you never realize that. So personally, I'd say that contributes a lot to some of these concepts not communicating well. Secondly, I always believe this, and I think most designers also subscribe to this theory of keeping it stupidly simple. The beauty of that is because, remember, at the core of design is communication. And that's why we usually insist on that simplicity for ease of communication. And at times, again, because of that excitement, we tend to maybe overlook such a critical aspect as the communication and get excited about the results as opposed to that passing the message across.
All right. Yes, Mr. Nicanor.
Yeah, one wonders when you look around and you wonder, just some few months ago, the Princess of Wales apologized, saying that the photo was edited in a way. And if you look at what she was apologizing about, you realize that there were some AI elements of AI in that photo. And therefore, that is some of the things that we really need to avoid. Now, you can imagine that from a corporate point of view. You are struggling to make a product that should be appealing to the human, the psychological part of the human. And there you are giving them that AI generated. And you want them to be associated with this, and you want them to be part with this, and you want them to feel this. And you wonder some of these things, how they could play out. So again, going back to it, you realize that when used wrongly, and my colleague Eric has just said, by virtue of being a graphic designer, you possess some, you possess some creative thinking on how to even give a prompt to the AI to generate what you want. And even after you generating, you still have that keen eye, you still have that attention to detail type of, a capability to go through whatever you have generated and see whether it fits the purpose, at the end of the day. So I'm seeing this over the excitement that Eric was referring to as actually been the downfall of all this. I mean, this nice innovation or nice technology that we have with us. So to me, I think we just need to use it very carefully, and we cannot run away from our graphic design principles that we must observe even when we are using an AI. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, that's very powerful. So for our audience, remember you can use your chat. You can chat with us direct. You can ask some of the questions or some of the critical issues you'd like to be answered by our panelists. So feel free to chat. We'll be able to sample your questions in the next 3 or 5 minutes. Then going on in terms of the use of AI, we have mentioned that there's lack of creativity and people are doing copy and cut in terms of the designs. And there is a lot of manipulations which are happening in terms of designs. Then again, not overlooking the issue of functionality of the designs and the design principles. So what are some of the things actually, or some of the websites for us, maybe those who are new? I know most of you have heard of AI. Any of the sites that you would refer us or upcoming designers to utilize on? Any websites? or sites we can use for AI? Any of the panelists can share with us.
Okay, so personally, I'd say AI being a tool that's being incorporated in lots of things. Majority of the traditional platforms that we use, like I mentioned earlier, if you go on Behance, you'll see material generated using AI, and some even go to an extent of even elaborating on how they've done that. Dribble, Pinterest, these platforms, yes, they're traditional for the older creatives, but they still pack lots of info with regards to AI-related projects. And maybe the reason I'm delving more into the design-oriented platforms is because now, depending on how the creatives want to move on, there's some creatives that might want to delve deeper into maybe understanding even how AI works in terms of code, etc. But I know most creatives usually tend to block that bit away. And maybe to just chip in into this, I remember earlier on, my colleague Nikano mentioned something to do with some of this technologies. For instance, where you have platforms where nowadays, as a creative, yes, I can design a website, but I can ensure that it's a fully functional website without me writing any line of code. And I think you've heard of them. They're called low code, no code platforms. So this, again, it depends on how the creative wants to pursue it. But my personal preference, especially for designers, is to just use our traditional Pinterest, Behance, Dribble for them to get inspiration around this.
Thank you, Fred, and thank you also, Eric. Actually, I use a platform called FreePick, not because it's generate actually. It has materials that it marks for you that this is AI generated. And now you go there and you compare. And some of them are really premium and they have been generated in a way that you use them and you feel, okay, I have something that I can use. And why I'm referring us here, more so for those maybe graphic designers who are looking for, let's say, vectors or just photos that can supplement some part of their work, is that when you use some of these platforms, you see the difference between your originally taken, or what you call now the organic photo that you have versus what has been generated by AI. And you can be able to sit down and compare the two and say, oh, this one is my original photo. This is an AI generated. And look at how they appeal to either your target audience or people or whatever product or communication you want to put across. So for me, is first of all, understand how they play out first before you can now go in and start also generating. In as much as you explore some of the platforms without the understanding and the ability to differentiate that this is an AI generated and this is an original or organically taken photo, it could land you in a trouble, because now sometimes there are platform again nowadays that flags up AI generated content. Then when you go there, then you think that it was not AI, and then it flags you up, and then you are like, okay, fine, I didn't know that. So for me, I think it is important that we learn that what is actually the difference in these two areas. Thank you.
That's quite interesting. So for our participants, remember you can share your questions with us so that we can be able to answer your queries or your curiosity. Then in terms of the AI, I know it's something that we can't be able to exhaust because it has also been incorporated in various applications, and we also have various websites that would have AI generated content. Then to other thing, for us as graphic designers, remember that we usually have some feedback, and most of times we usually have some of the feedback that you would feel as a designer, for you, you are right. But always remember, as they always say in marketing, the customer is the king, or the customer is always right. So how do you incorporate client feedback without compromising your design vision? So how do we get to go about that for upcoming designers? Yes, maybe Mr. Eric, you can go first.
Yes. So one of the things that maybe I'd say that contributes largely to this is the processes that we take to execute projects. And it's always advised. It's always best advised for us as creatives to make sure that we involve the client at all stages of design and development of the project. And this helps you to eradicate most of the issues that you'd encounter doing this. I'll give you a classical example. Like about 2-3 years ago, I had a project where we were designing a mobile application for one of the insurance companies in Kenya. The client was so certain that they wanted to build this product for their customers. And once we got into the project, we requested the client if we could do some research around it before fully engaging into this. And one of the things that the research unearthed was that the client sort of had the wrong person in mind when they were thinking about designing of this application. And this was because if I was to ask anybody within this webinar right now, the number of times you interact with your insurance company in a year, chances are it's maybe give or take a maximum of 3 times in a year. Yet they have this group of people that interact with their platform on a day-to-day basis, even probably hour after hour. And this group is the agents. So we took this information, and that's what we used to convince the client that they needed to change direction in terms of their target audience. So, and you see, that's part of the process that I, as an individual, take whenever I'm engaged in a project. Research has to be paramount, and this research has to be shared with the client. And by you doing that, you are eradicating some of these issues that might emanate in the future.
Yes, Mr. Nikanon. Yes, Mr. Nikanon, what's your take on incorporating feedback without losing any, we are talking about your perspective as a designer. Yes.
Actually, thank you. There is a quote that when we were in some session somewhere, and it was about just actually about graphics design. And I can't remember the author of this quote again, but it says something to do with design is about getting the right idea and getting the idea right. After you've gotten the right idea, now you need to get that idea right. And I was like, okay, now this is where what Eric has just mentioned comes in, because surely if I am to get the right idea, it is the client. It's originate from the client that has this. And for me now, I need to unpack this using some, design, graphic design, creativity, ideas, to make sure that it lives to the expectation, or it produces the end product that the client wishes to have. Okay. So getting this for me, it follows a very simple but often overlooked process that this needs to be discussed Okay, what is this idea that we need to discuss now? After this, then do I have the understanding? You know, the person coming to you to design something, they are the vision carrier in my perspective. So with them, you need again now they need to bring you in to be part of this vision they are having. So for me, I look at it and I'm saying, okay, can I vision it the way you are visioning it? And then if that is the case, can I then produce that abstract logo that represents the idea? Whether it is figuratively most of the time, because graphic designers, we communicate a lot using abstract terms or symbol or what figuratively, and then we have the message home powerful, you know. So for me, the client comes first, but again, that contact and you getting to know this is what is behind this idea, not that, oh, I want that logo done. Could you just get me some few elements that represent this and that, or I want that logo done. Can you just use letters, letter R and N, or letter what, you know, that will represent my name. I think there is a lot to that. At the end of the day, if you don't get what is behind it, even getting it right becomes very difficult, even in terms of what type of color, what colors can I give you? Because colors also communicate something. What type of font can I give you? Can I go with serifs? Can I go with sans serifs? I mean, what type of it? Can I go with italics? Can I go with is it bold? Is it regular? Is it light? You know, what type of a tagline can we give this? So if you do not have that background information and from the client, and then you start reading from the same script, then we are bound to fail from the word go. They'll tell you, no, that is not what I was thinking. That's not what I was looking forward to. So for me, I think it's the beginning, from the onset. We need to get into the shoes and the eyes of the vision carrier, who is the client, okay, at the end of the day. With that, it makes the beginning, that baby step towards getting it right. Thank you.
Sure, that's quite powerful in terms of the graphics, getting things right from the scratch or from the start. We also have some questions. I'm also encouraging our participants to share their questions with us on the chat. We have a question from Jambi Maina to Mr. Eric. From your experience, which research platforms are most viable? So, Mr. Eric, that's for you.
That's quite a big question, because you see, research is not about a platform. Research is about a process. So I think maybe, I don't know if she meant processes, because platforms for research, not as much, but the processes is more IP, like the different types of research, depending on the project that you're engaged in. For instance, there are projects that maybe you do desk researches, where you can even make phone calls, do some research online, etc. Then there are projects or scenarios that might force you to go into the field and do some field research. And you see, such you don't need platforms. You need just proper structures, proper organization for you to know how you're going to collect this information from the would-be interviewees. Thirdly, there could be a combination of both, where you're mixing both desk, you're sending out questionnaires, and to some extent, you're going into the field to get some info around the particular subjects. So I'd say it's more around the processes and not per se the platforms.
Sure, actually she meant the process. Yeah, that's a very good one. So we also have a question from, okay, we'll handle that together, from Gilbert, for the future. What is your take on the future of graphic design? So we'll look at that in the next few seconds. I can see that our time is not on our side, but we need now to look at the last segment of this webinar or discussion. We are looking now in terms of the career development. What advice would you give inspiring or aspiring graphic designers, and those who are maybe they have the skills, they want now to start up their businesses? What is one or two, three things that they can pick up as a graphic designer? I know from my side, I usually talk about patience and having humility as a graphic designer, because we are looking at it from the perspective of qualities of a good graphic designer. So I can give a chance to my panelists to share more in terms of the skills. Maybe each and every person can give two of them or three outstanding skills they need to have. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Fred. Let me pick this and say one thing. The graphic design landscape is changing. And therefore, we are also required to change as graphic designers. And this change is 360 degrees. This change is about our interpersonal communication. It's about our, how do we interact with the community around us, with people around us, you know, with the environment around us. We need to change. There is that paradigm shift that is happening that we need also to be on board with it. Otherwise, if we don't change with that, we are risking not getting it right. So what do I mean? I mean, people, we are interacting with people from different generations. And therefore, this calls for what you call emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence in terms of how do you understand my client? How do you understand this community? You know? So you really need to have this and say, where do they come from? You know, what are they saying? You know, what do they want to see, or what does he or she would want to see at the end of the day? Two, that will then be complemented by what I call interpersonal communication. How then would you want to relate with these people? Because remember, graphics, design is not something you just sit and collect a few elements here and there and present. We design for emotional appeal. We design for information. We design for a lot of things, and they represent a lot of things to people. So at the end of the day, in whichever purpose we are serving, we need to work on our emotional intelligence, two, our interpersonal communication, and finally, we need to understand our trade and the tools of trade we are using, from our traditional desktop publishing software to the new kid in the block AI. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe Mr. Eric, you can give us two things as a graphic designer you need to have.
Yes. So maybe I'll start by saying I believe most of us have smartphones that have cameras that have lenses, and these lenses have enough exposure. Kindly don't accept to be paid by exposure, because you've put in lots of work in learning this trade. You've put in your sweat, tears, etc. So kindly learn to value your trade, which is the design sphere. Secondly, my advice would be also to upcoming creatives or designers. Let's try and have our own styling, like our own style. For instance, if you look at football, for us who watch football, each of these players usually has their own way of playing. Yes, they might be all defenders, but they have their different ways of playing. And that's an identity that they have. So I believe as creative, you also need to have that identity, in that your work speaks for yourself. Somebody can literally put money on what you do. Then thirdly, as my colleague also said, I'd really emphasize on let's keep learning. Let's not stop learning, because there's always something new for you to engage in or learn.
Sure, that's quite impressive in terms of the design skills. They're also very important in terms of when we're advising, especially the upcoming designers. It's also very key for you to have to ensure that you are proficient in terms of the use of the tools and to be able to solve some of the basic issues. Like when your application has basic problems, like you can't be able to reset, it can give you headache for you as a graphic designer. So you need to be able to know the basics on how resetting the palettes, where to start from in terms of the researching, the process, and like the other panelists have mentioned, in terms of developing your own personal style in terms of the design. Even when it comes to checking your work, some designers will just, clients will check on your work and they're like, I know this is so and so's work, because they have learned your style with time. So to the audience, our participants, you can reach out if you're having questions. Let's continue sharing our questions. Yeah, question and answer. Feel free to text any concerns or areas you like clarifications. And then there was a question which I actually delayed to answer because we are going to work to look at it briefly, like the one from Mr. Gilbert Diranku. So our panelists, where do you see the future of graphic design in the next 5 or 10 years? I know now we're having AI. There could be something else. So where do you see it now? I know 10 years ago, we couldn't imagine that we are going to have the AI integrated applications. Yeah, then another question that would come in hand with the same, are we going to lose value for graphic designers who have learned traditional ways of doing things? You remember even before the invent of computers, people used to type or to handwrite. Then we would have someone who would just go and type it. We are having typewriters. You see that kind of development, which has been there for quite some time. So maybe our panelists, I can start with Mr. Eric in terms of the future of graphic design for the next 10 or even 20 years from now. Yeah.
I'm actually open-minded about the future of this. One of the things that has been intriguing me of late is a possibility of seeing interactive packagings. I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm visualizing that future where we'll be developing and designing packagings that are interactive, where I can easily pick a package in a supermarket and the package communicates to me. Like that's the kind of future that I'm looking at.
Okay, sure. Yes, Mr. Nikanon.
Like I had mentioned that now this platform, there is a shift, and this shift is we have to embrace the change that is already there and will keep on growing in terms of AI development. So I'm looking at a future where the human being is fully integrated with even the functionalities of AI. My point of view, or where I'm coming from, is that you see, AI is developed by human being. And therefore, we are the power engine behind the AI. So as we develop this, which means we feed it more, we make it more intelligent, this knowledge is coming from us. This thing did not generate itself. Okay. So from where I see it is that we have to learn. That one we cannot run away from. We have to learn. And they say from where we come from, or from the lecture rooms we attend, is that you are asked to upskill, cross-skill, and reskill. Upskill, cross-skill, and reskill, so that we are at par with what is happening. So that when we are required now to perform some of these, we are the people who knows the best prompts, We are the people who knows how to maneuver. We are the people who knows how to at least tweak a few things to get the best out of the best. And two, I've just seen somebody dance on asking they run a graphic design and how they stay updated and how do they make themselves visible out there. My colleague Eric and yourself, Fred, you just mentioned that there is an issue of identity. Just graphic designers, when we create what we call a corporate identity that stands out there. As a graphic designer also, like you've said, we also have to cultivate, nurture, okay, and grow our identity in terms of what we produce as graphic designers. So from where you are, we ask you, what do you do? Okay? You start from there and you say, I do 1, 2, 3. And like they say, their specialization, have your niche. What is your niche? You know, are you good in product design like Eric? Yes. If you are good in product design, yes, there is a client base for that. And then I think we shall stand out. Thank you.
Sure, that's very great in terms of identifying your niche for your design. I know there are some people who would say that they are jack of all trades. They will do anything so long as it will bring money. But it's always good to be able to get into your line as a graphic designer. Then as we wind up, maybe we can get 1 or 2 questions from the attendees, if you are having any, before we close up our session. Any last question? Yes, I think we got the last question for now. That is from Victor, is asking about what are the avenues for reskilling, cross-scaling, and upskilling. Maybe I think Nick Anon, you can, I think we have mentioned that you can just 1 minute as you wind up.
Yes, just like, and Victor, thank you. I want to give you an example, like in the media. Right now, the language the media is talking about is being a multimedia journalist, which means for you to be a multimedia journalist, they are just saying you are that backpack journalist who is able to shoot that video, edit that video, you are able to take that photo, edit that photo, you are able to design that poster, you know, I take that image, use it in the poster and send it. Generally, what we are saying is, do not be a handicapped graphic designer. Do not say, mimi kama si Photoshop, siwezi design. Mimi kama si InDesign, siwezi design. Mimi kama si Illustrator, siwezi. Mimi kama si Canva, I cannot do it. No. Look at what are the new trends that is happening in the designed landscape. Illustrator, what is happening there? InDesign, Photoshop, Canva, okay? These are the areas of reskilling. You learn the new techniques that are coming up. After you've learned the new techniques that have come up, and then you combine them with other skills that you have, okay? You cross skills. And as you do this, you look for those refresher courses, take them, whether it is YouTube or what, or even these refresher courses that you come in on their day workshop or what, upskill using them. So at the end of the day, we are asking ourselves, we do not want to be that one-sided graphic designer or a handicap graphic designer. We want to be that 360 degrees that is well incorporated even with the AI. Thank you.
All right, yeah, that's great. I think we can close our session at that time. We had indicated that we close by 5. I'm so grateful for you joining us to our discussion today. But even before we close, we can have parting shots from our panelists. That is Mr. Eric, you can go first, then we'll have Mr. Nikanon, then we'll close.
Thanks a lot, Fred. Mine is just to encourage everybody here. I know the journey might not look that rosy, but things will get better. And especially once you start discovering what you're really good at, how you can get support from your peers. Because again, remember, even if it's a graphic design project, you can always share it with your peers and it can make your life easier. If it's something that involves an element that you're not as comfortable as, you can share that with someone else and they can chip in the expertise, and that way you can also build your portfolio in a better way. Secondly, I'd also insist
Eric, we are breaking.
solid portfolios.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, no, proceed. Yes, you can proceed.
Yes, so I was saying we need to have solid portfolios, and by having a solid portfolio doesn't mean for you to have 30, 50, 100 projects in it. You only need to have a couple, even just 5 projects, 3 projects that are nicely executed, nicely illustrated around the processes that you took. And I think that could be a really good way for you to sell your services to your clientele.
Sure, that's great. Mr. Nikanon, your parting shot in maybe a minute.
Okay. I thank you very much, Mr. Fred. I would like to say this, and we have to be alive to the fact that we are living in a gig economy. And this is now our generation, and this generation is surviving on a gig economy. Gig economy, where I mean, it is the skills you have, the monetizable skills you have that makes you earn that amount of money. I see a lot of campus students, when it comes to during the weekend, they already have jobs booked. You hear somebody tells you, we have this gig somewhere, we are going to do this for the weekend. On Saturday, I will be doing this, and then they get paid. From a graphic designer perspective, we survive on this a lot. We monetize our skills as graphic designers, right? Somebody have an upcoming newspaper of a county newsletter or newspaper that needs to be produced. You become the chief graphic designer. Somebody have this product they want to launch, and therefore you want to work on the brand identity of that. You are there to do it. Be courtesy of your skills. And people nowadays, they don't want to hire a graphic designer and then also they are looking at, oh, can I also hire somebody to do, let's say, a photography, and somebody to do what? They want you to bring a package to them at the end of the day. Are you able to do these graphics? Yes. Do you understand a few basics of photographies here and there? Yes, I do. These are the skill sets you bring on the table. That when it is time to design, you design. When it is time to do the production in the field, you are there with them. So for me, I would ask, and I would still call upon us, let us reskill, cross-skill, and upskill for the gig economy. Thank you.
Sure, thank you so much, our panelists. For those who joined later, we are joined with Mr. Nikanon as a professional graphic designer in corporate communication. Then we are having Mr. Eric, who is a product designer. So it was a pleasure to host you guys. And my final word to you as a graphic designer, or parting shot, you need to practice a lot. So more of the things has been said. I don't want to repeat what has been mentioned, but remember, when you are practicing, you are making it perfect as a graphic designer. Then you always need to ensure that you identify your strengths and weaknesses. So each and every day, remember, for us as graphic designers, we depend on this on daily basis. And Sometimes you can have good papers, but again, when it comes to use of the application and the tools and your creativity, it could be zero. So even when it comes to interviews, like I would mention for most of the interviews I've gone, they rarely even ask for papers because they would want to see what you can be able to share or what you have to offer to them. Yeah, that's great. So I'm so grateful for you. We can have other discussions elsewhere because actually I think we have exhausted our time. Thank you so much, our attendees, our participants, for joining our platform. So for more information, remember we were hosted by, that is Africa Digital Media. So in case you'd like to do courses for graphic design, feel free to reach out to us. I think the details have been shared. And yeah, that's all from my end. Otherwise, have a fruitful afternoon or evening. Bye-bye.